Pro Football Plus out here at Commanders Training Camp as it comes to an end soon, and the last preseason game is getting ready to happen. And Jamison, you've been here before at this stage of the game. What have you seen most about this team?
I just seen I think just the consistency coming out here every day, just working. Trying to get better each and every day, and I think that overall throughout camp, I think we made some really great strides.
Making great strides is the kicking team. The new rule has changed this year. How have you navigated through that, and what are you seeing different about that in what you have to adjust?
I think that it's just something that everybody have to get used to. Just kind of understanding the rules and what I'm saying, just when guys can take off and, when the ball lands and stuff like that, the kickoff team can move. I think, some of that's kind of having to take some adjusting to get used to. You know what I'm saying? It's different. So I think, as the season goes on, teams will get used to it and teams to try to find a way to use it as a competitive edge.
Talking about seeing how things goes, do you see yourself on this roster? Because everybody, competition, Coach Quinn talked about that from day one, the competition, everybody, nobody is sure money per se to a certain degree, but do you see yourself as a veteran in what you've done so far on this roster?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like, I bring a certain element, to the offense and to the special teams. I feel like I've had limited reps, but, the few reps I have had, I made plays. So in the game Saturday, I made a couple catches, and that's just, off of limited opportunities. So, as a veteran, I feel like I, come in and help out the offense as much as I can, help out a young quarterback, be a quarterback-friendly receiver, and just do what I do. So I definitely feel like I can help out. And, we'll see, how things go tomorrow, and then see how things go in the preseason game, and then, see how things go whenever they, got to make the roster cuts and everything. So, but yeah, I definitely feel like I belong on the roster because I feel like I can help out a lot.
You hear Jamison talking about he's done enough, he believes, to be on this roster, both playing wide receiver and special teams, what makes you a little more valuable than other guys because of that dual role.
Nah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always, the more that you can bring to the table. Like I said, man, I've had, limited reps. And, some of that is, they want to take care of me being a veteran guy. But, with the few reps I have had, obviously I've made plays. And, I just hope that's just something that, obviously gets noticed when the coaches and everybody, GMs, whoever watching film, you know what I'm saying? But, so, yeah, like I say, I'm just going to come out here and do what I got to do each and every day and just see how things shake out when it's time to, make the cuts and everything.
See how things shake out. Number 80, Jamison Crowder, been here before. Cutdown day is coming. Last preseason game is coming. But I already said that I think that number 80 right here is going to be on this squad. Last preseason game is coming up on Sunday. Here I've got my two favorites that will break down and won't tell nothing but the truth because they know I'll call them out. Wally, talk to me about you've been out here some doing training camp as things wrap up. What has stood out to you about what you're seeing as this team navigates to get ready for the first regular season game?
I like the defensive aggression. I love Daryl Tapp, defensive line coach. I love what he's doing out there with the defensive line. And some of the vets, like Terry McLaurin, he looks hungry. Like, he looks very hungry. And obviously, we got to talk about the rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. He just has command of the offense, command of this team. The players love him. So I think the environment, it just looks more positive. It looks like grown-ups are hitting the building, running this team. So I think a lot of Commander fans are going to be excited what they see open in September.
Now, he talked about a lot of the positive, but some things are still happening out here as far as some areas that players are still jarring for a position as far as special teams. Still got to get that punt return guy. I got a chance to talk to Jamison Crowder because they've got a lot of people trying to twist and turns to see who that person is going to be. Jamison thinks it's going to be him. I think so, too. Also, offensive line is another area, and the secondary cornerback position is three areas that I think that they have to address. Lake, what are you seeing in those areas that I talked about? Punt returner, still navigating through who that guy is going to be. They're only going to keep probably 6 receivers, maybe possibly 7. We don't know because of just depth at other positions. What are you seeing right there? And also, what are you seeing as far as the offensive line? I got a chance to talk to Coach Quinn and ask him about the offensive line and where he sees them. And then also the secondary at the cornerback position. I want to hear after Lake what you've got to say, Wally.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the offensive line, I think it's kind of coming into shape as far as at least who the starters are going to be. I think Andrew Wiley starts at right tackle, and that's probably the one position I would say is still it's not on solid footing. I think Cornelius Lucas still could have something to say about that. But I think as far as like left tackle, I think Brandon Coleman's locked that position up. He's your starting left tackle, and that's a fine for them because he's a rookie. And then, of course, I think next to him, you'll have Nick Allegretti, who they brought in from Kansas City, and he's looked pretty good. Yeah. And then, of course, in the middle of the field, Tyler Biadasz from Dallas. He's a great communicator, great signal caller for them on that line, and that's going to help Jamin. And then you have who I think the guy that's going to be in his first Pro Bowl this year. I think Sam Cosmi's ready to, progress to being one of the best left guards in football. But again, we have to see what happens with that right tackle spot. Now, the other thing, too, is that they have to make sure they have depth. Because, right now it's like if one of these guys goes down, who's really going to be the guy to step up? Is it going to be a Chris Paul? Is it going to be, Ricky Stromberg? You don't know, but you haven't seen a whole lot when some of those starters were out. So that's going to be a big deal for them. And then as far as like some of the position groups, I think, Wally and me were talking about receivers. Who are you going to keep? Donna, we talked about it. I mean, there's a lot of guys vying for spots here, and maybe some of those names that you thought were guarantees, you don't know. I'm not mentioning names, but I do think, the emergence of Diami Brown has kind of put pressure on some other guys. Yeah. Do you keep Jamison Crowder not just as a punt returner, but as a guy that can still run some routes because he still can do that, and he proved that last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, Terry's the one lock, but then outside of that, guy like Bryson Tremaine, he's a big body from Stanford. He's had a great camp. Every time you look up, he's making plays. Does he have enough to crack it? I'm going to go out and say that I think they're keeping 7 receivers and not just 6. I think they're keeping 7 because I think Jamison ultimately could be your punt returner, but then you see a guy like Zacchaeus, who, he's out there.
He did a good job today.
Yeah, caught the ball right out the air, not fielding it like this, just took it out the air. So there's a lot of guys. And then Wally and me were just talking about the tight ends. Do you keep 3 or do you keep 4? Normally, traditionally, you keep 4. At some point, we even talked early in training camp, they were going to keep 5. Well, they let go of Monty Rogers, which made you think, well, Cole Turner's safe. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if maybe they go into the season with just 3. And I say that because John Bates has really come on, and he's playing really well. So now you don't have to rush, Sanat, you don't have to rush him right away. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. We do know, though, that most teams keep their draft picks. So if you're one of the guys that was drafted, Donna doesn't like that, Wole. But that's some of these guys aren't their guys, and some of these guys they look at it like have bad habits that they inherited, and as opposed to do you want to clean up a guy's bad habits when you have a young guy that you drafted and the only habits they're going to ever know are what you teach them and your coaching staff. So those are things you have to think about.
Well, one thing about it is I don't care about where they drafted them at because if they're not doing the job, guess what? They won't be on this roster. They won't be on this roster, but Coach Quinn talked about 2 areas that's really stood out to him as far as the tight end position and the safety position. Those are the ones that's really shining that he spoke about. But Wally, we haven't talked about that secondary as far as the cornerback position. That's one that still has a question mark and a big concern going into the season.
Yeah, it's pretty light, to be honest with you. You got Emmanuel Forbes, you got St. Juice, you got obviously Mikey Sandstrom. Like that's the best, probably he's the best corner on the squad right now as a rookie. Then after that, you're really like pulling teeth. Davis is probably gonna make the team, but
Castro Fields.
Yeah, he had a rough one today.
You know I want to let you come on here and mention Mikey first because it's a Michigan.
Yeah, but he had a rough one. But he's had a good camp, though. I know he's had a good camp. But it's what you have to see on Sundays, not what we see here on camp. So it's light right now. But in terms of what you mentioned earlier about the safety play, I think that coach said that on the presser. He said that it's deep there. It's deep in safety. He has to make some tough decisions. Yeah. Like obviously you have the starters out there in Chin and Quan Martin, who to me have looked great in camp. Mm-hmm. Then you go from there. You got a kid that everybody's now talking about, Owens, who is showing out in preseason games, and you all have seen it here in camp too as well. So then you got to go to a player like then you look at Defoe, and then you're looking at Percy Butler, and now Jeremy Reeves too, and you putting Jeremy Reeves out there too. When he says it's a tough decision, now you're trying to do the numbers game. Like, who's going to be the man out? Because I don't think you really keep all of them. There's a possibility you can keep all of them, but I don't think there's a good chance that one of those dudes are out.
I think those last two, and vying for one is Percy and Defoe.
I agree.
And I think from what I've seen, I like Defoe. He's a turnover machine. He used to cause turnovers. But he's one of their guys, the old regime. Mm-hmm. So is Percy, but Percy was a rookie last year, which to these guys, they know that didn't count. It didn't count for Forbes, didn't count for Percy. Mm-hmm. If you were a rookie last year, you weren't coached. Right. So now, again, habits. Where do you fit in? And you're right, man. I mean, the best corner out here is the guy that they drafted from Michigan.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Amazing. Lake hates that, but you know what? It's a good problem. It's a good problem to have as far as the depth at safety position. But Defoe, Derek Forrest ain't going nowhere. I'm sorry to say, Lake, but that's one guy that's probably going to be on this team.
I didn't officially say.
No, he didn't officially say him, but he put his name in the hot seat. But I don't even think that he's on the hot seat.
You know why I think he isn't on the hot seat, and it's not because of his play.
Is that injury?
Yeah, the injury, and then now he's not. He's now back on the back end of the roster on the depth chart.
A guy like Owens,
you know what I mean?
What he does. You can't justify keeping Owens off this roster under any circumstances.
And I do want to put it out there in terms of body of work. Like Defoe to me is the better safety between him and Percy Butler. I'm not going to say in terms of body of work, but like Lake said, this isn't like the old regime. This is this regime. This regime knows the players that are available, and the players that are available are Percy Butler, right? Percy Butler's that player available. Defoe hasn't been available, so that's the only thing.
Hey, Derek Forrest, Lake and Wally said that y'all possibly may not be on this team. You're on the hot seat. He said, okay. I'll clean it up. He said they both said that you might be on the hot seat. I don't even think you're on the hot seat.
Hey, listen, you can't keep everybody. And if you have, 6, were you going to keep 6 safeties?
No, but again, we got a lot. And the key thing is this last preseason game that's coming up this coming Sunday is going to be key for all of these players that still are trying to make this roster, whether they were veterans, whether they were first draft picks. That don't matter to me with this coaching staff, because if you're not getting it done and some other guy has come up and played better, guess what? You'll be headed out the door. Sorry to say that, but Donna Hopkins Pro Football Plus, tell them where they can keep up with you, Wally, because you know I only tell the truth.
And you can catch me on the Urban Sports Team, which is, you can check the website, which is www.urbansportsteam.com. Hit us up on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel that's popping, so just hit us up on YouTube. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. And we also have a podcast that's dedicated for the Washington Commanders called All Burgundy and Go Everything. Just check us out on YouTube as well.
Hey, you can be the first person to be able to say this, but it's now, you'll be able to check me out on the Lake Lewis Show. Appreciate that. So it's no longer the After Practice Podcast. It's the Lake Lewis Show. And it's going to be on a big network real soon. We'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, you can just follow me on social media at Lake Lewis Jr. on all formats. And then you can go to sportsjourney.com, although I'm not going to be on sportsjourney.com. I still mine, but we got some young pups coming up that are getting ready to run that, so we appreciate that.
And you all know where you can find us, or me, Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus and In the Minute podcast. Donna Hopkins out here at Washington Commanders training camp as they come to an end, and cutdown is right around the corner.